Color film. This is something I've always taken for granted. The C41 process has been around since the early 70s, and before that C22 was from the mid 50s and Trichrome from the 30s. Integral color film has existed in some form for almost 100 years. And it's kind of crazy to think that people from 100 years ago were able to work out the science and put in the R&D and engineering to make this thing that sandwiches multiple dye couplers and silver and anti-halation into a base that's a fraction of a millimeter thick. Even though it's old technology, it's still something to be marveled at. And I only say this now because I did something that I consider to be somewhat disrespectful. This is a roll of Ektar. Compared to any other C41 film stocks, it's pretty normal. If you're looking at the negatives, there's nothing really out of the ordinary to talk about. This is sort of a baseline as to how normal C41 looks like. And then there's this. This is some cross-processed Ektar. Normally when I hear cross-process, I think about E6 and C41 chemistry or vice versa. But in this case, I cross-processed C41 film in black and white chemistry. I developed this Ektar in Rodinal 1 to 50, 20 degrees Celsius for 11 minutes. There's nothing really special about this process. You don't get any crazy results, just the standard black and white photo. The only wacky colors you have to contend with is the brown base. And since you can only really get a grayscale image out of this, the color of the base doesn't even matter. If you ever wondered what Ektar would look like as a black and white film, this is pretty much it. It looks alright. It's a little flat. You don't really have that much grain, which is expected for a 100-speed film. If you follow this channel, you know that I enjoy doing some Trichrome photography. The Trichrome process, for those unfamiliar, is when you use these color filters and some black and white film and a little bit of Photoshop magic to create a full color image. And I made a whole video about this going into more detail, and I'll leave a link below. Now, when I saw these results, my first reaction was, what happens if you Trichrome it? So I Trichromed it. In the first photo, the clouds are coming in and out, and I ended up messing some, if not all, of the exposures, which led to some of this gross color rendering. It's a little washed out, it's kind of pale and muted. The greens look a little off, and it seems like the blue channel got underexposed by a bit, and the red and greens kind of just pop out a little bit more. The highlights are a little milky, which I don't really like. The colors are just off, and it looks bad. The second one came out much better. I metered for the boxcars, and I think they came out looking pretty good, but everything else, like the trees, the sky, and the grass, sort of just came out kind of sickly colored. In the sun, the grass looks very green where the sun was shining and very red where the shadows were, but I mean, at least the boxcars look okay. And the next two shots were a little underexposed, but the colors came out much better. In what world would this be a viable solution to any problem? I'm just trying to imagine a scenario, like you have some color film but no access to C41 chemistry, but you do have some black and white chemistry and a full set of Trichrome filters, and you need to shoot a color photo but without color accuracy? I don't know, man. And this is what I was referring to earlier when I mentioned that I did something disrespectful. People put in a lot of time and effort into getting this film to work the way it does. And then some idiot like me comes around and dumps all over by doing this. If you want a color photo, just shoot color film. Like, this is really dumb. I mean, this is just Ektar. If it was Portrait 400, that'd be some real disrespect.